What's going on, everybody, and welcome to my review of Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, released in 1987, and once again starring Christopher Reeve as Superman. This is a movie I actually have a lot of nostalgia for. I remember watching it when I was younger and thinking it was just cool seeing Superman flying around doing things. But rewatching this movie now, it's rough. Even though I was really entertained by this film, it's easily one of the worst superhero movies I've ever seen. It's broken and just kind of baffling. Nostalgia aside, Superman 4 is just a horrendous movie. Superman 4: The Quest for Peace tells the story of Superman deciding to rid the world of all nuclear weapons after receiving a letter from a young boy concerned about global destruction. In doing so, he draws the attention of his old nemesis, Lex Luthor, who's broken out of prison and hatches a plan to clone Superman using a strand of his hair. The result is Nuclear Man, a solar-powered villain created from Superman's DNA and designed to destroy him. As Superman tries to maintain peace and battle this new threat, he's also faced with personal struggles, including whether he can truly separate his Superman identity from Clark Kent and if he can ever live a normal life. Starting off with the positives for Superman 4, the thing I really liked in this movie was Christopher Reeve. Even with all the nonsense around him involving Nuclear Man, he still gives a great performance. He clearly cares about the character. And there are moments where you can see glimpses of the Superman we all loved in the first two films. It's honestly impressive that he's still this good even when the script he's working with is so horrendously terrible. He tries his best to carry this movie, and without him, I think this would be basically unwatchable. And finally, I do think the movie is kind of entertaining because of how messy it truly is. There are so many weird things that are happening that you can't really look away. It honestly reminds me a lot of Batman and Robin. Both movies are cartoonish, full of goofy dialogue, over-the-top performances, and decisions that don't make sense at all. But that's part of what makes them so watchable. They're so bad that they loop back around to being kind of fun. But with that out of the way, this movie is just plain bad. Let's start with the villain. Nuclear Man is one of the worst villains I've ever seen in any superhero movie. His costume looks like a Halloween outfit someone threw together at the last minute, and he has zero personality. He just stares at people and roars like the shark in Jaws: The Revenge. He doesn't have any interesting motivations, no real backstory, nothing that makes him compelling. I honestly don't even understand how he was supposed to be threatening. He's not fun, not cool, and every time he's on screen, I'm just confused about how he made it into the movie at all. Another big issue with Superman 4 is just how tonally off it feels compared to the rest of the franchise. Even Superman 3, which already leaned heavily into comedy, still felt like it was part of the same universe. But The Quest for Peace feels like a parody at times. The tone is all over the place. One minute, it's trying to make a big emotional statement about world peace, and the next minute you have cartoonish fight scenes with Nuclear Man scratching Superman in the neck like a cat. It doesn't strike the right balance between serious and fun, and that inconsistency makes the movie really strange to watch. And then you've got the visual effects, which are easily some of the worst I've ever seen in any film. I know this movie had a super low budget, but even taking that into account, it's shocking how bad some of this stuff looks. The flying scenes look like absolute trash, and there's a part during the finale where Superman moves the moon and it just looks like they dragged an image across the screen. The green screen work is everywhere and none of it works. It all looks fake and cheap. I've seen movies that were made on a smaller budget and still looked better than what we got in Superman 4, and the fact that the filmmakers reused the same shot of Superman flying multiple times instead of actually filming new ones is abysmal. The story also doesn't work at all. It's full of weird holes and time jumps that make no sense. There's one part where Superman is super weak, and then he finds the green crystal from the first movie, and suddenly he's just Superman again, with no real explanation. The whole plot about him trying to rid the world of nuclear weapons is a great concept in theory, but here it's handled in such a generic way that it ends up feeling kind of meaningless. It doesn't spark any real thought or emotion, it's just there to give the movie a basic structure. The characters across the board are just so generic. None of them stand out in a good way. Most of the returning characters don't feel like themselves anymore. Even Lex Luthor, who's usually one of the more fun parts of these movies, feels off here. Gene Hackman is still doing a good job, but the dialogue they give him in this one is just so cheesy. He still has more energy than most of the cast, but it's nowhere near enough to save the movie. Another issue regarding Superman 4 is the lack of character development. Superman himself, while being portrayed with the same charm of Christopher Reeve, doesn't really evolve at all in this movie. His mission to rid the world of nuclear weapons is awesome, but there's no depth added to his journey. We don't see any growth like we did in the first two films. As for the supporting characters, they are even worse. Lois Lane is barely around, and even though she does play a pretty big role at the end, there's no emotional build-up to her involvement. The lack of any arcs makes the stakes feel shallow, and you're left not really caring about anything that is about to happen. So overall, Superman 4, The Quest for Peace for me is a giant stain on the franchise. Christopher Reeve is still amazing, and I'll always respect the heart he brought to the role, but everything around him completely falls apart. The villain sucks, the effects are awful, the story doesn't make sense, and even the charm of the earlier films is pretty much gone. There's nostalgia here for me, and I do enjoy watching how bad it is, but it's still a really bad movie. I honestly don't know if Superman 4 is better or worse than Superman 3 because I honestly think both movies suck in comparison to the level of greatness of the first two films. So I'll give Superman 4, The Quest for Peace a 2 out of 10. So, what do you guys think of this movie? Do you love it, think it's just okay, or maybe even dislike it? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to comment below. Please like, subscribe, and share this video. I really appreciate your support. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.